I've been sharing a lot with you guys about my Airbnb business because I'm making so much money with my Airbnb business that it would almost be criminal not to share it with you guys. But for the most part, people watching me out there probably aren't living near an area that is super hot for Airbnbs, that is super hot as a tourist destination. And so you may be looking at, how do I run an Airbnb business? How do I do it remotely? Because I don't live anywhere near a place that is going to do extraordinarily well on Airbnb, like Gatlinburg or the Gulf Coast of Florida. And when you look at running these things remotely, a lot of times people look to a management company to help them run their place on a day-to-day basis, but they are going to take so much of your revenue that you're getting, and they're going to rent your stuff for such a low price and get bad guests in there that by the end of the day, there may not be any profit left for you at all. And that is why I have learned how to self-manage, and I seriously recommend self-managing your Airbnbs, even if you have to do it remotely, even if you have to do it from another country, like say you're in the military or something and you need to do this from a long way away. And the thing I'm going to share with you today is the 3 devices that you must have in order to successfully and easily run an Airbnb business from a long way away and be able to have a great experience for your guests. So before we get started, just hit that like button for me for the YouTube algorithm, and we are going to get into the 3 items that you absolutely have to make your Airbnb business awesome. So the first thing that you're going to need to have is a smart lock system of some sort. Gone are the days of going to a central office and picking up a key, filling out a bunch of paperwork, waiting in line before you can get to your vacation home and get on with having fun on your vacation that you probably spent, hundreds or thousands of dollars on. The wireless smart lock is one of the best inventions that we have seen as far as revolutionizing security, entry and exit, just basically getting in and out of the building. And the one that I recommend the most is the Schlage encoded. Now, I am not sponsored or paid anything by any of these products that I'm going to recommend today. I will have affiliate links, however, down below in the description that you guys can click on. You can purchase it. It will give me a small commission from Amazon, but the Schlage encode is pretty much the gold standard in the short-term rental world. It's so much so that right now, just like everything else in the world, there is a shortage of them. So if you can find one and you're looking to get into this, either buy it and you can probably flip it online for a little bit of profit. Now, there are other smart locks out there. There are other wireless smart locks, but I haven't seen any other ones that have been so widely regarded as the Schlage encode, and it is a little bit pricey. I believe it's around $300 something, but you're going to see why here in just a second, because it allows for easy remote keyless check-in. It's very simple. There's not a whole lot of buttons to press. You just push the code and then the unlock button, and then in order to lock it, you just hit the lock button. That is all that you have to do as far as a guest goes. And you know how some people cannot figure out technology, and so this makes it very, very easy. Now, with it being wireless and with it being remote, you can program up to 100 codes, and you can change those at any given time from your cell phone. There's an app that goes on your cell phone and goes with this. It's very intuitive and it is easy to use, but you can make unique codes for your cleaners, for your pest control people, for contractors, for guests, for anything that you want to set that up for, so you know when those people are coming and going. And it also has in there a history of all the events, whether it was unlocked by a code, whether it was unlocked by the thumb turn mechanism on the inside. Anytime it is locked or unlocked, it records it and records how it was done. And this can be very helpful if you're not expecting someone there and somebody shows up. If you have guests that show up early, we had a guest that showed up about an hour before check-in, and they were complaining because their cabin wasn't clean, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, listen, you are here an hour early. I know this because of all of these different things, and in conjunction with another product I'm going to talk about later in the video. Then it was just very helpful for me to be like, you guys are here early. It's not our fault, and we will have it done for you on time. You can also, with this being wireless, you can delete codes at any time. If you end up getting a problem contractor, guest, or something like that, you can take away their access to the home remotely without you having to do anything but mess with your phone. Some folks are going to be able to figure this stuff out easily. some folks aren't as far as guests when they get there. If they do have a problem, if there's a problem with the lock, if there's any type of problem, you can even lock and unlock the lock remotely with your phone from anywhere in the world where you have internet access, which is a pretty cool feature to be able to make sure that your guests can get into your rental. There is also direct integration with Schlage and Code with a lot of the property management software such as Guesty and Hospitable, and so you can set those up so that they will make the code to the door automatically correlate with the last 4 digits of the guest's phone number, and so that is a convenient thing to do because they'll always be able to remember the code. However, I have not done that to this point because I do feel like that is another moving part in the system that is subject to breaking down, and it's just one of those things that I'm kind of worried about integrating because the systems that I've used have worked well so far. The second thing that you guys are going to want to have in your Airbnb properties is a Wi-Fi thermostat. This is going to allow you to keep tabs on what's going on with your HVAC system, which probably contributes a lot to the second biggest expense that you're going to have operating your Airbnb outside of your mortgage. Now, the one that I like the best is the Honeywell T6 Pro Wi-Fi thermostat. It's pretty easy to set up. It has a very easy user interface as far as your guests are concerned to be able to just easily change the system from heat to cool to emergency heat if necessary, to adjust the temperature up and down. It's pretty easy to use, and you know, most folks will be able to use it. The biggest thing is that you are able to set lockouts for your heating and your air so that people don't get stupid with the HVAC settings, because not only are you going to end up running large energy bills if you're trying to keep it at 60 degrees in the summertime or 85 degrees in the wintertime, you're going to save yourself big on repair items because running it at those extremes and extreme temperatures is going to cause an excessive amount of workload and is going to end up making the system break down. Now, we have our heat locked at 76 and our air conditioning locked at 68 degrees, and I think that these are pretty reasonable temperatures for the vast majority of the population, and those will keep your energy bills reasonable and keep your repairs to a very minimum. The thing that a Wi-Fi thermostat is going to be able to give you especially is the ability to keep an eye on things. For one, if you have a long period of vacancy, you can reduce the load on the HVAC by either turning it, down in the wintertime or up in the summertime, lessening your bills and your run time. But the biggest thing is that you will be able to keep an eye on if someone has turned on emergency heat. For whatever reason, people think turning on emergency heat is going to make the system run faster or better. But all it does is turns off your heat pump if you have a heat pump system, and especially if your backup fuel is electric. Electric is several times more expensive to run than your heat pump alone. And so if it is left in emergency mode for a long period of time, and it doesn't have to be because there's not an emergency like the heat pump stopped working, it is going to run your electricity bill straight through the roof. In addition to being able to look at what the temperature is and if the emergency heat is on, you can see if you're having extended run times or if your system is not reaching the set point. Now, this could be due to a lot of reasons, such as a system component problem, such as maybe a heat pump not working correctly or a capacitor that's out. And if my HVAC buddy's watching this, he knows what I'm talking about. But it can also be due to other things, such as a guest has left a door or some windows open. And all of this costs more money and causes more stress in your system, which is going to cost you earlier for when you have to replace it. Not only that, but anytime that you have a problem with an HVAC system, you're going to end up having to send a technician out there. And if it's during a guest stay or right after they arrive, they're going to be aggravated. They could leave you a poor review or could request money back, which may be warranted depending on how bad the repair is and how inconvenienced that they are. One thing to avoid when you're looking for a Wi-Fi thermostat is to try to avoid the learning thermostats like Nest or the Ecobee thermostat. The reason is because there is no pattern to learn. These things typically try to figure out when you are home, when you're away, and try to adjust the HVAC system in order to conserve energy and make things more comfortable. With a short-term rental, there is no pattern, so there is no reason to spend extra money on that versus just your standard Wi-Fi thermostat. In addition, these have proven to be less reliable over the long term than your typical Honeywell thermostat. So not only are you missing out on essentially the basic features of a learning thermostat, but you're also getting something that's probably less reliable than just your typical Honeywell a wireless thermostat. Next up is some sort of a camera, and this is going to allow you to observe your property from afar, keep an eye on things, and if you have a beautiful place to go like a beach home or a mountain home, if you're still working that 9 to 5 job or you're just not able to go there because guests have it occupied, you can daydream about it while you're at work. You can look and see what's going on and see where you aren't right now because you're still working. Now, the ones that we like are the Blink camera line from Amazon. These things have done really well for us. We've used them at our homes personally before we used them on our short-term rentals. These things are high definition, they're discreet, they're waterproof. You can talk through them. They're relatively inexpensive, and there is no ongoing cost. They have a certain amount of storage that's available in the cloud, wherever the heck that is. And really, I don't think you need any more than that. Now, what we do is we mount these cameras to face the house so that you can see the parking areas in the front of the house. A lot of folks will use the Ring cameras, like the Ring doorbells, and those usually face out from the home and kind of defeat the whole purpose of what we use the cameras for, because a lot of folks will want to be able to count how many people are coming in, look at see if they have pets, look to see if they're breaking any of the house rules or anything like that. But really, all we are using these for is to be able to check up on our properties from a remote distance and be able to see the property itself. This is for after like storms or some sort of major weather event typically, or if we're checking up on a construction crew or something like that, because we can see things, and we've caught stuff going on as far as we had a water leak in a crawl space on one of our properties that we were able to detect, and when the water department showed up, I was able to just speak to them directly through the camera. Instead of trying to track down phone numbers, I could just say, hey man, what's going on? They said, we think you got a water leak. We're just going to turn the water off. And then I was able to rectify the problem. We also had a pretty major storm come through. I saw that the cable line was down and was able to get that repaired without having to have someone come out and see and look to see what the problem was before they were able to go out. The thing is with these cameras, don't point them at any private areas such as like hot tubs, pools, or anywhere where people might be having private time, for lack of a better term. Never indoors, and always be sure that you guys disclose that you have cameras on the property, where they are, what they can see in the listing. Now, with these Blink cameras, there is a battery life. These run on lithium-ion batteries. We have had them at our own personal residence for over 2 years, and the batteries are still good in them, but that is just something that you'll have to consider, that they will need servicing sometime in the future, and that's something that maybe you can do while you're visiting the place from time to time, or you can have your handyman do it. The biggest thing with these cameras is don't check them regularly, or else you will go insane. You'll see people doing all sorts of crazy stuff. You'll see people bringing in pets. You'll see people maybe trying to sneak in 1 or 2 extra guests. For me personally, this is not a concern. If they sneak in a pet, I will pay the cleaner the extra fee. It's not a big deal. I don't want to ruin my review ratings by trying to hammer people on pets versus paying a $50 cleaning fee, because if my reviews go down to 4 or 3 or something like that, I'm going to end up losing tens of thousands of dollars in bookings that people won't book our place, versus paying a little extra fee for the pet to be cleaned up after. Also, 1 or 2 extra people, not going to be a big deal, and it's just not something to worry about looking at your cameras and trying to hammer people on everything versus just dealing with it, because usually, even if people bring in extra people, they bring in pets, there's usually no damage, no problem with it, and so it's just not worth it to try to hammer your guests on every little thing. There are a multitude of other devices that you can install in your properties, such as sound meters that you can try to tell if someone's having a party or just getting too loud. There are water flow meters that you can try to detect leaks with, but the 3 that I mentioned, I think, are the most important for every single Airbnb property, so that you can efficiently manage it from a long way away. Now, be sure to click the videos up here, the playlists up here. These are going to tell you all about our Airbnb business, about the cabins that we have, about how much money that we are making. And if you guys haven't yet, be sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit that button down below, hit the notification bell. You'll see everything I put out on Airbnb and personal finance. Guys, I appreciate you all watching today, and I'll see you on the next one.